What's an encounter with a celebrity you've had where they were an absolute dick? Vivica A. Fox. I used to be a bartender at a hotel. And she came in with a guy late one night after an event. He ordered a drink for himself and a house red for her. So I turned to her and asked if she preferred Cab or Merlot. She gave me the dirtiest look, like how dare I address her directly, and flounced off to a table without answering. He said just give her red. Whatever, and left a 0 tip. They ordered 4 rounds. No tip each time. They also complained that someone else came in and sat at a table near them and tried to get me to make them move. The other guests didn't even try to approach her or talk or anything. She was just mad that they dared to sit at a neighboring table. On the other end of the spectrum, Jay Leno came down one night to grab some dinner and a drink at the bar by himself. He was super polite, funny, and left me $100 tip. I gotta say, I like Leno. I like Conan too. That NBC mess was mostly NBC's fault. Back in the 90s I worked on the stage musical production of Beauty and the Beast. The guy who played the talking clock is an Australian celebrity by the name of Bert Newton. He always used to say hi and make conversation until he found out I was one of the lighting crew. After that, he wouldn't even glance at me. Slightly related. On the same show, I used to hang out with the dude that played Gaston at stage door having a ciggy during interval. I only recently discovered that it was Hugh Jackman. Really nice dude. Hugh Jackman seems genuinely the nicest person in Hollywood. Sorry Tom, I said it. I love this clip of him recognizing a former student. Was the reporter just casually assuming that Jackman wouldn't remember him? And then he does anyway? Cuba Gooding Jr. cut in line ahead of me and my sister for a pretzel at Disneyland. We were 10 and 8 years old, respectively. How good was he in Snow Dogs though? This is late, but it needs to be said. I was a bookstore worker for a large chain in a popular city. We did a ton of author signings and talks. Authors are almost universally great. George R. Martin was fantastic and really insightful to fans' questions. Stephen King is awesome and stays for everyone. Chuck Palahniuk is great and really hilarious. Toni Morrison stayed and talked in the coffee shop for hours. Margaret Atwood knows more about books and sci-fi than literally anyone I've ever met. However, the Speep crown goes to Mitch Albom. He's a colossal dick to everyone. He openly berated the baristas and the cafe for his coffee's lack of quality. He was a prick to every employee. He sat in this super tight t-shirt and sat with his left arm behind his right to try and push out his biceps and look buffer. Which is hilarious, because he's maybe 5 feet 6 inches and 130 pounds. I'm not going to go as far and say he sexually harassed women, but he was slimy and gross to every woman in sight from ages 18 to 45. It was the worst signing ever. Plus, he acted like Tuesdays with Maury is wisdom on level with the Dalai Lama. My boss actually had to ask him to leave immediately when his scheduled signing was over. His handler/agent was a very nice woman who was clearly sick of his speep. That poor lady. My heart skipped a beat when I saw the first few authors without reading about how nice they were, because I always thought they were nice. Good to be wrong. I went to a convention near my town. It was a sort of cartoon convention and gaming convention combo. On 10 separate occasions I was asked, "Do you know who I am?" Not a single one of them were people I knew. When I expressed this, they all had the same responses but with different names. My name is Sprinklety Moore, some equally ridiculous name, and I have over 50,000 subscribers on YouTube/Twitch. Apparently there was a panel being held about how to grow your internet persona. It drew out some of the worst people ever. I wouldn't even call any of these people celebrities. But that was the image they had in their heads. My name is Sprinkle Tim. Excuse yourself from my vicinity. This goes both ways. I ran into Kirstie Alley 25 years ago, when Veronica's Closet was on. She was quiet, but sweet. People came up and wanted photos, but she was with her kids and politely declined, citing her kids. Nearly everyone acted like she had slapped them and turned them down, but she was calm and gracious. Kinda made me sad. I guarantee that half of these stories are caused by fans being dicks and expecting their hero to respect their crazy fandom. Exactly. I just wanted to say hi and chat for 30 seconds and maybe take a picture. Was that so much to ask? One person? No. Constantly. Every time you're out in public? Yes. Jennifer Lopez. Anyone who has had to arrange for her visits or done military protocol for her USO tours or whatever knows how off the walls bats peep crazy she is. She came to visit Ramstein a long time ago, and the general's quarters, the nicest place on a very nice base, weren't good enough for her because everything has to be white. Every single thing. So we frantically found her a hotel room in Frankfurt 90 minutes away, which was as all white as could be found, and had the pleasure of driving her to slash from multiple times a day while she nagged about making other cars on the Autobahn slow down. Why her hotel was so far. Why she couldn't get her favorite American drinks at a rest stop. Etc. She expected Pope and presidential level treatment. She is absolutely horrible. So her attitude matches her music. There needs to be a JLo is the worst subreddit. There are too many stories. She sounds like the worst. I was fortunate enough to be involved in a number of films shot in South Africa. I got to meet and greet some well-known celebs. But a few stand out. I will list them in greatest cockwomble to minor cockwomble order. 1. Steven Seagal. Absolute bell end. Was looking for hookers while married. Coked out of his head while on set. Just a general douche canoe. 2. Kiefer Sutherland. Mamma mia. This guy thought that every time the sun came up it was because he had his pants down to take a speep. Decent enough to the people who directed and mattered to him. Everyone else was treated like dirt. 3. Bob Hoskins. Just generally a bit of a prick. Lost his speep at people for the littlest things. Rona Mitra was pretty nice though. Friendly and congenial and just so very pretty IRL. Leonardo DiCaprio was actually much nicer than I would have expected. Took his mom with him wherever he went. Was very nice to crew and extras and pretty much everyone. Great attitude too. Anyway, that's my 2C. I'm so happy to hear that DiCaprio isn't a prick. Ran into Pierce Brosnan while on vacation in Hawaii before Daniel Craig took the role of James Bond. He was in a gift shop and we bumped into each other. Out of surprise I pulled out my finger gun and shot him in classic Bond fashion. Right in the gut. He staggered back and held his stomach. Slowly dying in this gift store in front of me. As a 12-year-old it was the coolest thing ever. I'm so glad this was a nice story. I really didn't want Pierce Brosnan to be a dick. I was sitting in the lounge in one of the big music studios in Hollywood. And Bruno Mars walk up. Looks at me. And says, "Where the f*** is my cab?" I looked at him and said, "Who the f*** are you?" I really had no idea who he was, haha. But dude did act like an absolute dick. Nicest guy ever, Billy Ray Cyrus. The studio had a policy that you're never supposed to touch the food any of the artists order or bring in, and you're especially not supposed to take any home. As I was leaving, he slipped me 2 huge meat and cheese trays out the door when no one was looking. As an intern trying to make it as an audio engineer, that sustained me for almost 2 weeks. I like that Billy Ray Cyrus story. I wasn't spring-loaded to expect good things from him, but that was really nice. Dude's close to Dolly Parton too. And she's an absolute angel. After the big fires in and around Smoky Mountain National Park in 2016, she bankrolled a bunch of families for over a year to help them get by. She was born nearby and does a lot of philanthropic work in the area. She is really a class act. Edit. Smokey. Not Smokey. Probably 10 or 11 years ago. I was working BTS of a WWE house show. My job was to find the contest winners and bring them to introduce them to a couple of the bigger stars. My immediate report went to Ricky Steamboat, who was incredible. I had a question for him, don't remember what it was anymore. But he was standing there talking to Chris Jericho. Not wanting to be rude, I stood to the side, waiting for their conversation to end before I interrupted. Jericho stopped mid-sentence, looked at me and said, "Are you f***ing lost?" When Ricky turned around to see who Jericho was talking to, he recognized me and was super pleasant and answered my question. But Jericho was pissed and thought I was a groupie or something. Chris Jericho is quite an unpleasant man. If you want a good laugh, check out any Fozzy film clip. Arrogance is off the charts. Used to work at a Hard Rock hotel. Mariah Carey was the absolute definition of a f***ing diva. She used a bunch of employee passageways and we were instructed that if we looked her in the eyes we would get written up. We were also told that we had to immediately vacate any room that she entered, even if we were in the cafeteria on break or in the bathroom doing our business. She's an asshole on top of that too. A few of her backup dancers accused her of sexual assault during Metu and nothing ever came of it. I've seen the whole can't look them in the eyes thing a few times in similar threads. And it just f***ing baffles me someone can be that self-righteous they feel that other people don't have the right to make eye contact with them. Think Dr. Phil may have been another one? Beep those cunts. Yeah, can anyone elaborate on this? Has anyone elaborated on their motivations for this? Making eye contact is considered by some people a dominant gesture or a sign of mutual respect. This is mainly in Western cultures. Some insecure people get offended if you make eye contact with them. Confident and secure people tend to respond in a much more positive manner. Gorillas don't like it much either. I've come to learn. Met Naomi and Winona Judd at a meet and greet session at Kmart corporate headquarters. I had a Kmart store plan from their hometown for them to autograph. Winona was a complete uber bitch. She scribbled her name on it and then crunched up the paper and threw it at me with some sarcastic comment about rednecks and hillbillies. Then her mom Naomi took the paper, gently smoothed it out and told me that it was the most thoughtful thing she had autographed all day. Very nice and genuine woman. How are those two blood related? My stepdad either did security for them once or delivered appliances to one of their houses, and your description is spot on. Naomi was sweet as could be, but Winona was a demon bitch. I met Ric Flair when I was 8. Those rumors of him being a dick to kids is all true, folks. He was a dick to me as a kid too. Flipped me off. I think I was 12. The Sandman at ECW in the late 90s. He threw his beer can. Way before Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I ended up catching one. After the show, he was signing autographs and I caught up with him. I said, "I caught your can. Could you sign it?" He looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "I'm not sign your f***ing can, kid," and walked away. ECW probably fostered that kind of attitude. but is also well known as an asshole. I saw Pete Rose at the airport on Thursday. He saw my Braves gear I was wearing and said Braves are getting beat. Buddy. I asked for picture and he just replied the score. 6-0. Okay, this one made me laugh. Never change. Pete. Never change. Also go Bravos my dude. Reversal story. Once worked for a large movie company. I was pissed off and at the end of my workday. So when I saw an open elevator not crowded with folk as I was leaving, I quickly got in and pressed my floor number when I heard a thick voice behind me, sounding a bit far away, saying, "Hold the door." I pretended not to hear given speep mood. Doors are closing and I turn. That's when Schwarzenegger's pissed off face appears behind the slit between the ever-closing doors. I asked you to hold the door, then they shut in his face and the elevator went down. I'm so sorry T-800. Oh, you knew? With that accent? You knew? I'm in the wrong thread. But I have a good guy Mick Jagger story. My dad was a limo driver and often chauffeured celebrity clients. One day he got Mick. The limo got mobbed by screaming fans. They were on all sides, pounding on the glass, climbing on the hood. My dad had never dealt with anything like that and started to panic. Mick reached over the seat from the back, patted my dad on the shoulder and said, "It's all right, mate. Just slowly take your foot off the brake. They'll clear off." Mick Jagger soothed my dad through a panic attack. My so works at the airport and met Mick Jagger there. Says he was polite. But it was also like 4 a.m. so he wasn't very talkative. LOL. A drunken Robbie Knievel tried to start a fight with some friends and I at a gas station because he claimed we cut him off. He was belligerent, swearing up a storm, and not entirely coherent. He also punched the gas pump we were at because that's just how upset he was. Our reaction was 80% what the f beep and 20% go home. You're drunk, and eventually he just went from screaming at us to screaming at us from his car. This was a little after his dad had died. Can't tell from your story, but was he driving? I met Woody Harrelson at health food store. I didn't realize it was him. We were talking in line. At first I thought he was being an asshole, but it turns out he is actually a really cool guy. He has a way of talking that sounds like he's being condescending and sarcastic. I've noticed it in interviews, but he isn't actually being a jerk. This is spot on with the story from my friend who works in the industry. First 5 minutes of meeting Woody, my friend thought he was doing the sarcastic tone a lot of actors who think they are above you will do to crew. However, that's how Woody speaks, as he is perpetually in a zero beeps to give mindset. Don King. I didn't recognize who he was and asked for his ID so that I could check him into the hotel. When I looked up from the computer screen, the look he was giving me made me turn completely cold. I genuinely thought we were seconds from this guy reaching out and grabbing me to hurt me for daring to not recognize him. I am not a big person and he is a very tall man, fortunately. A co-worker who did recognize him intervened and took over the transaction, giving him what he felt was the proper amount of ass kissing. After that point, as far as he was concerned, I no longer existed. Super rude. But the anger and malice in his expression when I hadn't recognized him just left me grateful to have him turn his attention away. I think he did say something along the lines of "Don't you know who I am?" But I honestly don't remember it. I just remember the look on his face. I've dealt D-list celebrities and plenty of sports stars who pull the "Don't you know who I am" card all the time. And I'm generally just amused by it. This was something else altogether. He creeped me the f*** out. Crook and murderer. He's probably a sociopath. Your spidey senses were tingling. My uncle works at a Vegas casino. None of the Kardashians or Jenners tip anyone. Ever. He was with them for over 3 hours and didn't receive a dime and was treated like total garbage. Scott Disick, however, is a great tipper and great guy all around. Scott comes off as the biggest dick on TV and media. That's surprising. 1/3 true, 1/3 brutal honesty, 1/3 editing to make him look bad in comparison to the family. My favorite quote of his: Courtney. Scott. Your ass is hanging out. Way out. Scott. Finally. I'm a real Kardashian. I work at a casino and I see quite a few celebrities. Firstly, Kevin James treated just about every employee like they were wasting his time. Just get it done. JLo was banned from one of the casinos I worked and Mariah and JLo were both banned from the other. JLo famously told upper management she didn't want poor people looking her in the eyes and wanted any staff that went near her to look down. She also demanded a new mattress in our villa custom-made bed BTW at 3 a.m. Then tried to get the casino to essentially break into a mattress store she had and aid Google for the mattress she wanted them to buy. God, I'm gonna be here all night LOL. Oh, one more. Charles Barkley is the worst gambler I've met in my life. That dude couldn't win a hand if he rigged the deck LOL. Guess she's not still Jenny from the block then.